my veins.
Touchdown! Oh my goodness!
This is my man.
Well. I mean, it's like a party here for me. This is very exciting. Welcome into First Take, everybody. Max Kellerman's back. You had a couple days off, much deserved, rested, enjoyed it.
Well, listen, when you have kids,
We have a
Mom,
lot
you
of
never
kids.
have a vacation.
Yeah,
If you
okay.
go somewhere, you're on a trip.
Got
if
it.
you go home, it's just
You're
a
still
day.
working.
You're
You're
still
still
working.
working. Yeah.
Okay. But you got some off time from us. And Kimberly Martin, finally in the
Finally.
flesh. So good to have you.
Thank you,
And it's
guys.
exciting to have you guys both in studio. It feels like normalcy. Hey, Marcus, it's kind of cool to have you virtually.
What's up, my people?
I'm just
Good to
playing.
see y'all.
How we doing? Good to see you. We're going to have some fun. All right, guys, let's get into it. The major news. The plane has landed. Max, your boy, Aaron Rodgers, back in Green Bay. What? After 89 days of uncertainty, this story broke back in April during the NFL draft that he wanted out. However, he has reported to camp. The two sides are working on a deal. Yesterday, when this broke, we asked Dan Orlovsky who won. Was it the Packers or Rodgers? Take a listen.
This is an absolute home run by the Green Bay Packers. I'll take everybody back to the moment they drafted Jordan Love. I guarantee you their intention was, we are going to sit him for 2 years, let Aaron Rodgers continue to be our starting quarterback, and we will trade him after the 2021 season. All they're doing right now, as of today, is making it look like they're meeting him somewhat halfway. They get to review the situation at the end of the year. They very well could, this time next year, say, you know what, you were the MVP again. We're not going to trade you. This is a home run by their general manager, Brian Gutekunst. Aaron Rodgers, this feels like a relatively big swing and miss.
All right. Max,
Baseball metaphors for a football topic.
We have talked about this ad nauseum, and then it breaks yesterday, and I didn't have you or Stephen A. here, and I know how important Aaron Rodgers is to you. So let me ask you this. Your first chance to react to this huge news. Who do you think the real winner is?
The biggest winner is the Green Bay Packers. But this is actually a situation where everyone wins. It's just degrees of winning. And I'm basing that on an understanding. My understanding of the situation is that much like Adam Schefter was discussing, 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago, I forgot how many weeks already, but Adam doesn't just pull things out of the air. He's talking to a lot of people. It seems that the cap hit was going to be too great for the Packers to swallow this year. So Aaron Rodgers is not a stupid guy. He understands that too. So the Packers, look, you can go after this year. It'll be up to you. But we need you for this year because we're not going to get killed on the cap and also lose Aaron Rodgers. And what they've done here is keep Aaron Rodgers, ostensibly a committed Aaron Rodgers, on a Super Bowl contender. Came pretty close last year, even the year before, right? With a real shot to win the Super Bowl. They're not marching him back at gunpoint. They're not forcing his hand. He is willingly going, which means he'll be committed. And then they have a year to change his mind. Right? They bought themselves a year to change his mind. So Rodgers wins because if he wants out, he'll be out after the season. The Packers win. They'll still be able to trade him and get a bounty for him, multiple firsts and everything. And they have an extra year to change Rodgers' mind. And they have a shot at the Super Bowl this year.
Win-win, except Aaron Rodgers is the biggest winner because what did he do? He turned a team that used a first-round pick on a quarterback and basically forced them to make concessions the team could have done from the very beginning. Hey, Aaron, we want to take this quarterback. How you feel about it? Hey, Aaron, we're thinking about letting go of this receiver. We're thinking about getting that. How do you feel, Aaron? What do you want, Aaron? These are questions that could have been asked last year, years before, and they could have avoided this situation. So the Packers basically put Aaron Rodgers in this position by getting another quarterback and then saying, oh, wait, that quarterback that we drafted, he's not good enough right now for us to win in 2021. Hey, Aaron, please stay with us. Don't leave. We want you. I don't know what they were doing in Green Bay, but Aaron Rodgers is the huge winner because he gets what he wants. I will die on this hill and say that Aaron Rodgers has the best chance of winning a Super Bowl this season in Green Bay. But the fact that he gets to, after this year, test out the Tom Brady theory of going elsewhere and seeing what you could do there, he's really the big winner.
Thank you, Kim. I'm glad we got somebody with some damn sense on this set. Aaron Rodgers, the biggest winner. We had a conversation. Look, Green Bay by default is in good position because Aaron Rodgers is their quarterback for 1 year. That's default. You got a player that just strong-armed an entire organization and became the requisite general manager and decision maker when it comes to roster development and how things are supposed to look. By the way, Randall Cobb just got traded to the Green Bay Packers. Guess who wanted that to happen? Aaron Rodgers. So he's going to continue to win in this particular situation. Max, I was adamant about Aaron Rodgers not coming back to Green Bay. Didn't think it was going to happen. But I damn sure ain't think they was going to make him the general manager, the owner / head coach, decision maker. And Gutekunst got up there and talked about he has input. It's almost the same as it always been. How in the hell you going to make somebody believe that after all of the stuff that we watched transpire this season, and then all of these decisions and concessions are made in order to bring Aaron Rodgers back?
Yep, that's a mistake by Gutekunst.
In what NFL world do you know of a player saying, I don't want to be there, I ain't doing a damn thing this offseason that has anything to do with the Green Bay Packers, and then ultimately shows up for camp and just everything go by the wayside? Man, you know what kind of concessions had to be made in order to get Aaron Rodgers back in that building? And we will continue to see things unfold as this offseason goes along, as this season goes along. I'm with it. Everybody is right. Y'all been right. The Green Bay Packers have a great chance to win a Super Bowl. It's a great roster. All of those things were true before Aaron Rodgers decided to let us know that he wanted out of Green Bay. We had just saw him in the NFC Championship. I get it. They gonna get a haul in draft picks. They gonna do all of this that everybody is talking about. That was gonna happen anyway. The Green Bay Packers knew that was going to happen anyway, right, whether they decide to trade him right now or they trade him a year from now. Aaron Rodgers just strong-armed an entire damn organization, and y'all gonna say the organization is the winner. Y'all crazy.
All right, let me get in here. Gutekunst did just speak, and he did admit to the fact that there were communication lapses with Aaron Rodgers, which we all know, a little bit of Captain Obvious there. But Max, I want to come back to you because you had said all along, Aaron's the guy with the power. The Packers need to come to him on TV and say, Aaron Rodgers is their boss. They will do as they're told. So does this turn of events surprise you, how this ultimately played out, that he's back in Green Bay?
No, not at all. And first of all, this is what I want to know. How is Kimberly, who has all this inside information, who talks to people all the time, how is Marcus, who's a veteran of the NFL, how is it that neither of those things, how are my opinions so much better? Can you explain that to me? It shouldn't be this way. And yet clearly the audience can see, Molly. The audience can plainly tell. Now, let me explain why the Packers win here, Molly, and why I'm unsurprised.
Okay.
Because the real win for them is they have another year to change Rodgers' mind. See, they're not calling the shots. The reason you guys are saying Aaron Rodgers wins, look at him, he's a shot caller. I've been known that he's a shot caller. The NFL has changed. The NFL has made the quarterback so important that if you are Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, or Aaron Rodgers, if you are a far outlier, right? You say jump, they say how high, and they don't come down until you tell them to. The Packers are learning this now. Now, the cap hit was such that I'm sure the back channel communication is, we just can't take the hit. It's not like Rodgers was really going to retire. He may have waited out a year, and they didn't want to lose that year, but neither did he. But more than that, they understand now they have a year to try to win a Super Bowl and change Rodgers' mind. And in fact, Gutekunst saying anything like he's saying now is not helping. He still hasn't learned to put his ego aside. Just check the ego, forget about all the double talk to make it look like you're in charge, and just give it up. Rodgers is calling the shots. You got him for one more year. Clock's ticking. You got 1 year to change the boss's mind because he will decide what happens.
What was the point of drafting Jordan Love? Like, what was the point? What was the point? Because if you believe that Packers believed Aaron Rodgers had just like 1 or 2 good, decent years left, which is why Jordan Love is here. Now the Packers are saying, oh, it should have been, they basically were like, oh, Aaron, baby, please don't leave us. Do not go. Like, come back to us. and yet they drafted a QB. Like, this is part of the problem. That's why it's hard.
That QB on the side if you want me to come back.
Right? That's why it's hard for me to say the Packers are the true winner. This is a win-win situation for them. It benefits them, but they put themselves in this bind and now are making concessions, and they have a QB that they can't use right now because they want this QB who they made upset, and now they have to convince him to come back another year. This has just been poorly handled from the jump.
Kimberly, you make a great point, and I understand absolutely what you're saying. But let me address the Columbia grad with the psychology major, because this dude is out of his damn
history major.
History major, but you
know
try to act like psychology is your expertise. You are smart. You are a very smart individual, Max. I ain't trying to throw shade that way. But in this particular situation, you crazy as hell if you think that Aaron Rodgers is not the biggest winner. Max, you just said it. If he says jump, they say how high. In what regard is that not the guy running the show and the biggest winner in any situation? You saying we already knew that. I didn't. I did not think that the Green Bay Packers were going to concede all of this control to Aaron Rodgers. I understand that all quarterbacks have a lot of juice, and it's a particular tier of guys that we know if they say something, it's going to move in the way. But to give up everything? Green Bay just gave up everything, Max.
Well,
right? Like, and they still don't know. To your point, they got a year to convince him. They still don't know where they're going to be a year from now.
They can win the Super Bowl in that year, Marcus.
Max, what if they don't and he walks?
Better shot with
What
Rodgers.
if they don't? Everybody understands and agrees that having Aaron Rodgers is a better situation. But the question is, who is the real winner? The real winner is the player that just strong-armed an entire organization. That's the winner.
If you want to back up to the very beginning, you can argue that. But we're dealing with the facts as they existed in the last several weeks and the last couple months when we've been chopping this up. Now, I want to answer both the questions. One, what were they doing drafting Jordan Love, right? And because Aaron Rodgers in a new system turned into a game manager, had the worst year of his career by the eyeball test, and it wasn't clear, given his age and given the fact that he relies on athletic ability more than, say, someone like Tom Brady or Drew Brees, you would think, because he can move and he can do all these things that require, like, the athletic ability you would think of youth. They thought, wait, is he in decline? Do we need to make backup plans? But they're hedging their bets because maybe not. It turns out not. He just needed that year in a new system to learn it, and then he won the MVP. So that's why they draft Jordan Love. They bungled. They messed that up, no question about it. But that's the rationale. It's not like I'm saying anything that we all don't know. And Marcus, Aaron Rodgers with the Packers, you're saying, how is he not winning because he just told the whole organization this, that? The fact is, he wasn't going to play for them. He didn't want to play for them anymore. It's been reported and discussed and chopped up ad nauseum, right? He's out of there. He doesn't want to play. Not only do they have him now, but they have him under circumstances for a year where he's not having to be brought kicking and screaming. He's signed up. So he's committed to this year. You have a Super Bowl ready team with a committed quarterback. That's a win. That's pulling a rabbit out of a hat.
Max, I'm not saying Green Bay didn't come out good in this situation. We're not having that conversation. Obviously, if you're paying attention, both sides got what they wanted ultimately. Green Bay got a great quarterback, a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest to ever do it, and a chance to win a Super Bowl. But we said, who is the real winner? The real winner is the player that organization pays to do a job, who just took a whole offseason and said, to hell with y'all until I become the ruler of all things in Green Bay. And you know what happened? He just became the ruler of all things in Green Bay.
He already was, he just didn't know it.
In particular, we got situations all over this league with owners, management, we got GMs, we got guys running organizations that would not have relented in this particular situation. We know some of the egos of some of the owners and general managers. Wait a second. All of the things that you said, Max, leading up to this point, Green Bay needs to go on television and apologize. They need to say, Aaron Rodgers is my guy. He's the guy that owns this organization. He's the general manager and decision maker. In what world is the player not the real winner when it becomes that situation, Max? In what
Well,
world?
but that was the
in
case.
what league?
That was already the case. We already knew that. At least I did. We already knew that that's the case. What the Packers got out of
Obviously,
it
Green
was
Bay didn't.
another year of Rodgers.
Obviously, Green Bay
I will
didn't.
say
No,
this.
they didn't.
I will say this. To Marcus's point, when I talked to NFL GMs and personnel execs, they said the Packers shouldn't do anything. The Packers have the leverage. Other teams felt the Packers had the leverage and should just sit there and let Aaron Rodgers be the one to sit out a season because he's under contract. The fact that they did not, the fact that they relented and now we're talking concessions, I think that points to the fact that Aaron Rodgers, who showed up with that devious grin yesterday and his little office sweatshirt, his little office T-shirt, he's the real winner. He knows exactly what he's doing.
It's easy for those GMs to talk tough when they
it's
don't
not
have
them,
to
right.
deal. If he's playing for them, we'll see how tough they're talking.
Well, look, Green Bay,
All right, let's move on
Green
here.
Bay GM play quarterback, so he can say what the hell he want to say.
Okay, let's move on. And speaking of concessions, might there be some with a hold back when he shared his feelings about the low COVID-19 vaccination numbers among the players of the Washington football team? Rivera, who was diagnosed with a form of cancer last August and underwent treatments during the season, had this to say on Tuesday.
I'm truly frustrated. I'm beyond frustrated, and part of it is, and the reason I walked in with the mask on is, I'm immune deficient. Okay, so with this new variant, who knows? So when I'm in a group and the group's not vaccinated or there's a mixture, I put the mask on, and I do that, for health reasons, because nobody really knows. And so I have to do that. And I just wish and I hope that our guys can understand that. I hope we can get to these guys, get them to understand really it's, not just for them, but it's for the people around them. And that's the thing that I think hopefully, will get their attention, is that it's not just about them, but the folks around them.
Kimberly, I'll start with you, and really strong comments there because he is immune compromised and obviously what he went through and he's at risk now. How big of a deal are these comments from Rivera?
They're huge, Molly. I don't think enough people are paying enough attention to the COVID situation in the NFL. And what I mean by that is it's almost like how society feels fractured beyond, based on vaccine lines. It's the same in the NFL. Unvaccinated players versus vaccinated. You're seeing in Buffalo, you're seeing the dialogue happening in the public sphere on Twitter between teammates arguing about it. For Ron Rivera, and I sat down with Ron Rivera recently for a feature story, and we talked about the vaccine. And I feel bad for coaches because they have guys, it's not just the bottom of the roster guys, the guys trying to make the roster that potentially might not even make it through camp if they decide to remain unvaccinated. What about the locker room leaders? Young, veteran, old, whatever. What about those guys who are going to, dig their feet and say, you know what, I don't want the vaccine? Because what we're seeing, I covered a lot of games last year that got postponed because of COVID and guys coming down with it and outbreaks. Titans, Ravens, Steelers. It had a serious effect last year, and now that we have a vaccine and players are saying, I do not want it, if you're a head coach like Ron Rivera, a guy whose team made it to the playoffs, a guy who is charged with turning on a franchise, who's trying to win now in this very short window, and the health issues, it's a big problem for coaches because they now are behind the scenes telling guys, listen, if you don't want to get vaccinated and there's a choice between you and somebody else and you're trying to make this roster, we're going to go with the vaccinated guy because it is a competitive advantage. That's how these coaches see it. And they have a lot of key players around the league who are sort of saying, yeah, it's not for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a huge deal. I think we all agree it's a huge deal. And I like the fact this is being flipped now. For so many years, when the team wanted to, or the league wanted to pressure a player into doing something against their self-interest, right? They use the teammates. You're going to let the teammates down. You're going to let the guys in the locker room down, the organization. You're not committed, et cetera, et cetera. Sign on the dotted line, right? And now it's being flipped. Now it's being flipped, and it's actually a very good thing to use the pressure. And when I say peer pressure, I mean your actual working peers, the people the people you work with. That's what this is. That's what the league is. Peer pressure to get it. You're going to leave us high and dry if you don't get it. And the reason we're even in this fix, it's not even about just the last administration and bad information and kind of mocking masks and stuff like that. This predates that. This has been going on for a long time now, this kind of anti-vax nonsense. It's like non-hocus-pocus non-science that convinced enough people that vaccines are dangerous. There's nothing in the scientific literature that says it's just not true. It's just made up. But enough people who should know better playing on the internet and spreading bad information, and people susceptible to low-quality information, believe that that's the case. And we should be polite and we should be kind, but we also have to be firm about it. Like, almost I think every state requires measles, mumps, and rubella if you want to send your kid to early daycare, right? And even elementary school. And I believe through high school, you're required, maybe every state but one maybe, you're required to get vaccinated. You're required to do it if you want to go to school. And I'm all for requirements, and in their absence, this kind of peer pressure and pressure from coaches and organizations to keep everyone healthy. Do you realize we were just in a deadly pandemic? Everyone praying for a miracle. We got a miracle. Take this pandemic over. And no, we're still in it because people don't want to take it. My hat's off to Ron Rivera and the NFL and those bringing pressure to bear to get out of this thing.
Yeah, I think it's poignant because of the messenger. When you talk about Ron Rivera, and he alluded to he's immune compromised. So for him, it's a different particular situation than a lot of people. There are varying conversations going on about this vaccine, and we all know it. We all abreast to it. Social media puts everything on blast. The conspiracy theories out there. It has become political. It's become emotional. All of those things. The bottom line is this, right? And a lot of people are not going to like this, what I say. But the vaccine is a decision based on each individual. Now, I'm vaccinated because not only am I vaccinated because I wanted to protect myself, my mother lives with me, and I wanted to get vaccinated because I saw how this ravaged. I'm close to this particular situation. I had an aunt in the hospital for 3 months on the brink of dying from COVID-19. So I have a different experience. There are different households, different conversations going on all across America. And Max, I know you know this, but as far as the vaccine, and this is not to disperse anything you said about the things that are going on with the conversation now, but there is history with African Americans with vaccines that makes apprehension when you start talking about these things and what it's derived from. But to go back to that history and not pay attention to the things that are happening now, there are so many people vaccinated, so many people that are not dealing with the things that come with COVID. It's not about not getting COVID. People are still getting COVID with the vaccine. The point is for you not to be laying up in the hospital on the brink of death. That's the results of the vaccine. That's what the results have shown, period. Now, you can argue about it, make it political, all of that. I'm not that guy. Hey, this is what the data says. This is what doctors and the doctors that I'm in conversation with are saying. The vaccine is working. It's working.
Marcus, real quick.
Go ahead, man.
I just want to mention one thing, because some people get this wrong about, for example, the Tuskegee experiment, right? Like, that's what people are oftentimes referring to when you talk about the history of this country, racism, how that can be tied up in people's attitudes. But just to be clear, that was about not treating the disease, exposing a group of people to a disease and leaving it untreated.
Yeah.
That was not about, hey, let's give someone a bad vaccine. That's about not giving the medicine, not giving the vaccine.
Absolutely, Max. And for the sake of time, I didn't go into that, but I'm just talking about the mistrust.
Sure.
That became a part of the medicine conversation for African Americans in this country. But to your point, you're absolutely right. But that's the point that I was trying to make. When you start hearing all of the questions about the vaccine and is it safe and is it test dummies being used? No. It's people that are vaccinated that are not getting COVID and not dealing with the symptoms that you would deal with when you're not vaccinated. And to Ron Rivera's point, the entire point, do it for the people around you. Like at the minimum, the people around you are in a better situation if you decide to get vaccinated. I'm just in a position where I'm never willing to tell an adult what to do. You do what you do, but you also have consequences for both. And that is really the conversation that's going on. Myself personally, I chose to get vaccinated not only for myself, but the people around me. That's not going to be everybody's decision. And we can't look at it in the chasm of, well, if you don't do it, you're a terrible person. We need to explain to them why you need to be vaccinated and why things need to transpire as far as you not only looking out for yourself, but taking care of other people.
Yeah, no, you're
That's
not a terrible person.
Conversation for everybody.
You're not a terrible person, but you should be maybe not allowed to come to work or go to school.
Absolutely.
That doesn't make you a terrible person, but you got to live with the consequences of your choices. And the question
I
as a
don't
society
think the NFLs can mandate that.
Right, well, that's the question that we have to ask ourselves.
Yeah.
What are we willing to mandate?
Yeah, they would like to mandate it, but I don't think they can with the NFLPA. Yes, I've talked about this before. Lost my grandmother to COVID, was in there full PPE. She couldn't breathe, very scary, awful. Got the vaccine on my birthday as soon as I could sign up. And it was also to protect my parents and the other people around me. But I do understand people's hesitancy. I wasn't running to sign up because I wanted to, but it's really to protect myself and other people. And I've got a small circle of friends on the West Coast right now. 2 of my friends, their whole families have it, dealing with the Delta variant. They're very sick. Babies are sick. They're scared, and they chose not to get the vaccine, and now they regret it. So I'll leave you with that on my personal story.
Yeah.
Still to come here on First Take. Max, I'll start with you. We'll go around the horn here. What's your reaction to the news?
I think that people are using Simone Biles as their own soapbox. If they want to make a point about how much they love Simone Biles, good for her, mental health is important, and it is, of course. And if they want to make a point about athletes getting softer, they say, come on, yeah, we know you have to perform. That's always been the case. And there's the truth. There's truth to that, too. So I think people are kind of using this to make a point. My feeling about Simone Biles is she is not obligated of color, but Kimberly, you can talk to this more directly than I can. I imagine particularly for women of color. But I would also say that along with that added pressure and added negative stuff coming people's way, there's also empowerment, and so you can feel that added pressure, but you can also do something about it. Athletes are now more empowered by some of the same kind of mechanisms that create the pressure, including social media. And so now if they are feeling this added pressure and they're feeling like, you know what, I'm not feeling this right now, they actually have a say in what happens. And I think that we're Naomi Osaka and now Simone Biles are reacting to the time and place and the kind of pressures the time and place in which they're competing. But they also have remedies for that. Look, you know what? I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to take a step back. And I would just reinforce again the idea that for those who would say, well, then you can't be the greatest, but she already is. Mm-hmm. So obviously you can be.
You want to go, Kimberly?
Oh, go ahead, Kim.
Yeah, go ahead, Kimberly.
First of all, I'll just say Simone Biles had already solidified herself as the GOAT. Tokyo was going to be the icing on the cake. There was nothing that she was going to do that was going to make us say, oh, now she's really the GOAT. As somebody who covers athletes, as somebody who's covered baseball, football, basketball, I've watched Major League Baseball pitchers have the yips. I've talked to baseball players about consulting a sports psychologist. The pressure is real. I think as Max was saying, what's happening now is that athletes are finally being honest about the burden. I was watching the Olympic coverage over the weekend, and I noticed a Simone Biles interview where she talked about how at 24, she felt it in her body. The injuries her body hurts. She feels old. And of course I was like, wait, what? At 24, she feels old? And then she started talking more about the pressure and how she worries about the routines and injuring herself as she's doing the routines. And that's something she didn't feel when she was 19, where she just kind of felt carefree and said, I'm just going to go for it. I think it's good that athletes now are saying, no, I'm not okay. Because most of us aren't. Day to day, hour to hour, in real life, if we're really going to be honest, all of us can understand what that feels like. So imagine Simone Biles, greatest gymnast, is saying, I'm not myself. This doesn't feel right. The courage it took for her to say that, to admit that, to not be able to compete, is huge. And a lot of people right now are on their soapbox, whether it's on social media, on different sports programs, saying, if I was Simone Biles, you're not. You're not. You never will be. I would have done this if you couldn't. So I credit these athletes right now, and I hope more of them will feel better about speaking their truth, because athletes, pressure's not new, but them being vocal about what they're struggling with and dealing with is new.
Listen, man, my late grandmother gave me the greatest gem I ever got, and I've gotten some great gems from some high-profile people. But my grandmother, Christine Spears, gave me the greatest gem. Y'all know what that was?
What is it?
Mind your damn business. People's mental health is not up for discussion. Individuals' mental health is not up for discussion. That ain't your business. Right? You could talk about Simone Biles as the gymnast, as how she performed as a gymnast, but her mental health ain't up for nobody damn discussion. Because to Kimberly's point, we don't know what that girl going through, that woman going through. We don't know what people are going through. And listen, I played in the NFL for 9 years, right? I've followed sports my entire life. I would rather Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka take a step back for their mental health as opposed to self-medicating, if y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
As opposed to dealing with these things in other ways where I've seen tear guys' careers apart because it was mental health things going on, but they found other avenues that wasn't good for them as individuals to do, and it ended up hindering not only them as people, but their careers. I've seen this. This is not something I'm speculating about. I've seen guys not deal with mental health. Listen, I come from a generation where you don't deal with mental health. I come from a generation where people pass it off as, man, Mark is just crazy. He'll be all right. He'll deal with it later, or something that happened or impact. Success don't make your mental health better. Money doesn't make your mental health better. The things you accomplish and calling people the GOAT, that doesn't make their mental health better. Michael Jordan stepped away from basketball to go play baseball. I guarantee you it had a lot to do with his mental health. So the bottom line is, people's mental health ain't up for damn discussion.
Yeah, let me get in here.
Public, go ahead, Molly. I'm sorry.
And then I want to let Max be able to finish things out, because there's some important context I also want to give. Also, with Simone Biles in particular, and this is where my blood really boils, she's been giving so much of herself, so much sacrifice since she was a child. This was a girl who dealt with Larry Nassar. Remember the Team USA doctor who's in prison for 175 years? She dealt with decades of sexual assault. Right? And continuing to show up, continuing to give of herself. This took so much courage and bravery. I applaud her. She's a role model. I look up to her. She was on Facebook, I think it was called Simone vs. Herself, and she talked about, you know, when we're an athlete and we have an injury, we step aside for 4 to 6 weeks to heal. But when we deal with trauma, we don't get that. So she's finally taking this time to do that. Good for her. And the fact that she said, you know, this is a dangerous sport in some ways when we're talking about things like the vault. She said her head wasn't straight. She didn't know where her footing was. She was worried she was going to get injured. There could be major repercussions. So for people to poo-poo her or say that she's soft, it's like, try walking in her shoes for one day.
And all of the people that are saying that about her, Molly, can't do what she do. Right? And that's what everybody needs to remember, because this is always my soapbox with social media and people that's having conversations about you. They having conversations about you because they ain't you. That's what it boils down to. So listen, whatever. People mental health ain't up for
I just wanted to get the Larry Nassar piece in, because I think it's important.
What you said about I needed to get my head straight, you meant physically, but right, you got to get your head straight first, the way we use that expression, in order to make sure your head is straight physically so you're okay. And Marcus, you said it. Anyone who, like, well, back in the old days, Michael Jordan stepped away for 2 years. That was not just about baseball.
Not at all.
After he was emotionally exhausted after a three-peat. Remember, the Lakers hadn't three-peated, and no one had three-peated since the Celtics, and they three-peated. It took everything he had. He stepped away for a couple years, came back and did it again, but he needed to recharge. That was partly about the same kind of issue. So many top athletes now, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, see sports psychologists and mental coaches. What do you think that is?
Of course. And it's just infuriating to hear, no, keep entertaining us. Go out there, get injured, you know, be miserable. And she said she was sleeping all day. It was a nightmare. No, choose yourself, choose your health. And I'm happy she's doing that. And that's what a real role model would do. Still to come here, guys, on First Take. We'll get back to some college football. Lamar Jackson is ready for a fresh start. If he has it his way, he won't be wearing number 8 this season. On the Ravens team podcast, The Lounge, Jackson said he has a personal reason to change his jersey number as he approaches his 4th season.
Well, I already told Miss Megan, I said we win the Super Bowl, I'm going to number 1. Like, I want to.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Really? All right.
That's my original. That's my first number ever. My dad told me number 1, get number 1 because that's the best. Like, you the best. And it always stuck with me. And I got number 8 when I went to college. And then my mom told me 8 stands for new beginning. So I was like, dang, it's a new beginning. So I kept 8. My coach asked me, he's like, what number you want? I'm like, I wanted number 1, but y'all gave me number 8. But it's all good because I know what it stands for now. And, you know, I just said, I want to retire number 8 and number 1. I want to do that here at the Ravens. So I want to win a Super Bowl with number 8 on, do much as I can with number 8 on, then come back and do the same thing with 1 on.
Worth noting, Lamar Jackson's not practicing today in a COVID-related case. The league still tries to process per Jamison Hensley and Adam Schefter. Jackson, who tested positive on Thanksgiving, had another test that NFL officials flagged. NFL is now going through science, and the Ravens are awaiting those answers. Super Bowl champ Jeff Saturday with us. Hey, Jeff, how we doing?
Fantastic. How you guys doing?
Good.
See you, Jeff.
Good. Let's get into it. I like all the depth behind his numbers. Number 8's new beginnings, and obviously we all know, Jeff, 1 means you're the best. But now let's focus on the Ravens. Are they legit Super Bowl contenders?
Man, not unless their offense grows, right? I think Greg Roman, the one thing I would say is the offensive philosophy, the run first, I love it, right? You've got linemen built for it. You put your hand in the dirt, everybody goes for it. You got big tight ends, physical. You got one of the most electric running quarterbacks in the game. But they have to develop the next level there. What do I mean by that? The play action pass has to match exactly what the run game looks like. And I don't think it's there, right? You have all these zone reads. He's in shotgun. I think they're only under center like 6% of the time. Well, in play action, it's a lot of like just kind of putting the ball out there, but the defense can see it quickly and bail to position, right? I mean, you think about defensive players. They see 7-on-7, which is like pass skelly, which is only the pass players in a drill their whole lives. So they can adapt and adjust so quickly. I would like to see the offense go into, when you're going back to hand the ball, that fake really shows it. I can liken it to when I was with the Colts back early in my career. We ran the zone stretch play, the outside zone with Edgerrin James. And Peyton Manning practiced so many times of how he would fake the ball to Edgerrin, drop the head, and then hide the ball. And it looked exactly the same when he handed the ball to Edgerrin. And what that did is it gave you a split second on the back end, whether that was a linebacker, that was defensive backs. Everybody bought the fake, and it opened guys up. Marvin Harrison running wide open, Reggie Wayne, Dallas Clark, Marcus Pollard, you name it. Guys got open because the design fake looked exactly like our run. I think that's the step that the Baltimore Ravens need to take to get their offense to the next level. We all understand they can run ground and pound, and they can be physical. I want to see explosive plays off of play action for Lamar Jackson.
And I think the elephant in the room, Jeff, is can Lamar Jackson improve as a passer? He started out his career promising as a passer. Given his age, he was more accurate than like anyone ever at the same age and experience, including Peyton Manning. You could say, well, that's because the way the offense was designed, whatever else. Bottom line is that was the fact, and he got better. He progressed. But the question is, has he plateaued, or is he still going to get better? The question is, are the weapons good enough, or do they need more? What's Rashad Bateman going to be, right? Like, he's not a guy, Jeff, whose size jumps out. He's not 6'3" or 6'5". He's not a guy whose 40 time jumps out. He's just a really good receiver, at least in college. Now He's got to be a really good receiver in the pros, and he's got to be with Hollywood Brown and maybe Sammy Watkins or whatever, a more dynamic receiving group receiving core than Lamar Jackson's had so far, and he's got to make use of them. I don't want to overstate passing difficulties for Lamar Jackson. He has had a game with nearly 400 yards passing in the playoffs. But by and large, he's 150 to 200 yards passing. He's not the kind of
Right.
threat going into year, what is it, 4 now?
Yeah.
That ideally
Right,
he
but
would be. For them to get past this, they're going to make the playoffs, they'll have a good record, maybe they'll win a game, to he's there with Mahomes and Rodgers and Brady. If he's the quarterback of your team and you have a defense, you could win a Super Bowl. I haven't seen that yet.
But again, Max, I take you back and say the scheme is what would allow him to get to that position, right? Is what you're asking him to do now is do all the zone read, use his legs to beat you like when they beat the Titans in the playoffs last year, right? I think he ran for almost as much as he threw for, right? And he has that big run to open the game up. Like you don't want to limit those type of plays. So you want that whole offense to function that way. The issue, though, is to open up the plays you're talking about where guys are screaming down the field. And it doesn't have to be timing. It's, look, the route worked because the guy froze in the backfield. That all comes off of offensive scheme. And it has to go back to the details of this offense. Plays have to look the same. If you go back and watch their film, so many of their pass plays don't even liken their run game. Like, I mean, it doesn't even make sense, right? It goes from this zone read, aggressive downhill to straight drop back. What I'm saying is they don't complement each other. And my point to him being able to take that next step that you're asking, I don't think there's a lot of quarterbacks that would come in and have the dual threat that he has that would be able to do it. You need to help design the offense to get those free runners in the backfield. Because to your point, their wide receivers have not been what you would say is just world beaters, right? You're going to get the ball in their hand, they're going to go make plays. But you do bring in Bateman, you do have Hollywood Brown. You are asking the tight ends to be a large part of this. Again, explosive plays through their tight ends. It has to be by design. I'm telling you, details make all the difference in the world to a quarterback like Lamar Jackson. This offense has to be designed to allow everything to look similar so that he can flourish in that pass game. It can't just be straight drop back. You can't ask him to go, hey, we're going to run it 35 times, and then 20 times we're going to ask you to go straight drop back, go pick them apart. That's just not the way offenses flow in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. By the way, we were talking about his COVID status. So he did test negative for days. Yesterday, he officially did test positive. But Max, I want to come to you on this. Obviously, I know the AFC North is a gauntlet in itself. But how many teams, and I'm putting you on the spot here, I don't know if you have them out in front of you, how many teams would you say right now are better than the Ravens in the AFC?
There's one team that's better than every team in the AFC, and that's the Chiefs, who just rebuilt their offensive line. And the reason they lost the Super Bowl is because Mahomes was running for his life the whole time. He's still spectacular. You could not do a better job on paper of rebuilding the line the way the Chiefs have. The Chiefs, the Titans are right there. Maybe I put them a little bit ahead of the Ravens right now. The Browns, I would probably put a little bit ahead of the Ravens. The Bills. And then what's interesting is the AFC now is at a place where the special quarterbacks aren't yet on good teams because they're so young, right? When you look at Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, when you look at, and especially with Deshaun Watson's off-field problems, but the Texans aren't good anyway, Trevor Lawrence, those guys are hopefully going to lead powerhouse teams one day, but that's not today. So there are no real teams with clear-cut advantages over the Ravens. Like, that guy's better than Lamar Jackson, except for the Chiefs. But I would say the Browns, Titans, Bills, and the Dolphins are going to be interesting. And I'll give you one more, not in the regular season, but in the playoffs, the Pats. Because if you're going to ask me who I trust more once the playoffs start, if both teams get there, Bill Belichick scheming or Lamar Jackson running, if they can't get the passing game together to the level they might like, I prefer Bill Belichick.
Yeah, and I would also put in there, I would say the Colts, if Carson Wentz plays even decent, the way the defense for the Colts played last year, Jonathan Taylor, that offensive line, that sets them. The thing about the AFC, and I'll say this, even including the Chiefs, this is a tough conference. I think it's substantially better than the NFC as a whole. I think it's basically the Bucks and Packers, but you basically named 6 or 7 teams that really would have a shot. I mean, think about the Colts last year. They should have beaten the Bills in the playoffs in Buffalo, and the Bills run all the way through and ultimately have to play the Chiefs. All these teams are really tight, and the point you brought up is probably the best point. The quarterbacks are really the difference makers on those teams. So if Lamar can take his team to that next level, then you give him advantage, right? Carson Wentz takes him. Tannehill takes it, right? All those teams, it's all predicated on if their quarterback can go up just a little bit to really compete with the Chiefs, because we know Mahomes is in a class all by himself, but those other teams are
ahead of
good
the
enough to
Ravens.
win if those QBs play. And the Ravens, they have to depend on Lamar Jackson. Their whole offense is predicated on that dual threat, so he has to play well for them to have any shot.
And that's the point, Jeff. Jeff, that's the point. When you look at the Pats, maybe the Pats, but can Cam do it? Can Matt, the same thing with the Dolphins, right? Can Tua progress? But the teams themselves are more ready, it looks like, than the quarterback. And that's the same with the Titans. Titans have a good quarterback, but is he a great one? The Bills are the one that stand out. Maybe they have a team at least as good as the Ravens, if not better, and a quarterback better.
Definitely.
Maybe,
Yeah.
right? But there's all the special guys who you'd like more than Lamar aren't on teams yet. They're too young in their careers, and their teams aren't good enough yet.
Yeah, odds makers thinking like you. They have the Chiefs and Bills as the only team ahead of the Ravens in the AFC. Jeff sticking around here with us, guys. Tom Brady fans and haters alike, keep it locked, because we'll ask the guys if it's a sure thing the Bucs make it back to the Super Bowl this season. And is the Bucs' biggest threat actually in their own division? Find out if one of the
Bucs win the Super Bowl.
The band is back in the Bay.
They're kind of the team everyone's watching now. There's different degrees of expectation.
One of the most prolific careers in NFL history has come to a close.
The Saints are saying it would be a quarterback competition between Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill.
This is a Super Bowl caliber roster that needs a complementary quarterback.
Sam Darnold finally getting a fresh start to the Carolina Panthers.
We brought Sam here because we think he can play at a really high level.
He is getting an upgrade in every sense of the word.
The Atlanta Falcons have agreed to trade Julio Jones.
My concern is the guys we got on this roster.
I think Matt Ryan's going to have a heck of a year this year under a new regime, and Arthur Smith is going to get the very best out of it.
Camp takes, let's get it. Looking at the odds from Caesars William Hill, Tampa Bay, the odds-on favorite to win the NFC South, also the favorite to win the conference. Once again, returning all 22 starters from the Super Bowl. Jeff Saturday knows about winning Super Bowls. He's back with us. Jeff, I'll start with you with our camp takes. We see that the Bucs are the favorites to win it all again. So I ask you this: will they run it back?
Ooh, it's always tough because history tells me no, but my mind's telling me yes. You know what I mean? So I'm saying, no. I think we got them going. Listen, this is what I like about the Bucs. First of all, Bruce Arians, their head coach, is one of those guys who never lets you rest on what you've done. He's always challenging you, pushing you, making you try to be your best. He's always holding you accountable. Tom Brady, very similar, right? This guy's, early 40s, and I don't know if I've ever seen a player more hungry or hungrier than Tom Brady. I mean, this guy wins Super Bowls, and he's already talking about the next one. So you have that. Then you flip it over to the defensive side. Todd Bowles, one of the best defensive coordinators in the game. You watched what he did as the season progressed after the bye week and into the playoffs, how well that defense, and they're loaded. They brought everybody back. So when you look at all these things, and then I couple that with the NFC, I think the NFC is far behind the AFC as far as competitive teams. I think Green Bay gives Tampa Bay, the biggest challenge. But when I look at the AFC, I think they're much deeper throughout the league. So as I'm looking at this, I go, man, like Tampa Bay, I really do give them a shot to run this thing back and look forward really to watching it. I mean, this team's loaded to bear, and you just got to see if they can execute.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to win again just because the odds are against repeating. You don't pick one team against the field usually, and they just won. And luck was also on their side. I know luck is the residue of design. Brady keeps himself in great shape and great condition. He pays attention to it. Maybe that also affected the offensive line because really their line was healthier than the other lines. Why did the Bucs win the Super Bowl? Because Brady no, because the two best teams they played, right? The Green Bay Packers and then the Kansas City Chiefs. And those are the three best quarterbacks in the game. The Packers had injury on the offensive line. The Chiefs' offensive line was wiped out.
Yep.
Wiped out. I mean, it wasn't really a game because the Chiefs – did you see what the Chiefs did in the offseason to that offensive line? I mean, you could – the two teams that I thought you have real problems on the line, and we're like, oh, my God, you can't do better than that. The Jets in the draft to supplement what they already had on the left side. The Chiefs, we were just talking about the Ravens. They're not going to have Orlando Brown. You know why? Because He's on
That's
the
right.
Chiefs. They traded him to the Chiefs, which I think is nuts. You don't trade that guy. You don't trade a premier left tackle to the team that you're competing against for AFC supremacy, you would hope. And that's the issue they have. They went and got Tooney. They have Remmers on the right side. They brought in, what's his name, Blythe from the Rams. Jeff, you're more qualified than anyone to talk about center play, but he's like among the better centers in the game. On paper, their offensive line could not have been fixed better. And then you have to factor in the luck element too. Look, they were super healthy last year at the right time, the Bucs, and they were playing teams that weren't. So not only would they have to rely on the Chiefs not also falling apart on the line, getting hurt and all that, and the Packers too, but then they'd also have to get lucky and stay healthy again. I just think there are too many variables to pick them as the winner again. They have as good a chance as anyone. If you ask me who's going to win the Super Bowl, I'll tell you the Kansas City Chiefs.
Jeff, let's go to the NFC. Who's the biggest threat to them, to the Bucs?
Oh, got to be the Packers. I mean, it's not even close here, Molly. Like when you look at Green Bay, I mean, I think of Green Bay similar to how I thought about the Buffalo Bills in the early 90s, right? Like when Bill Polian had that team and they're going to the AFC Championship game year in and year. Like the Packers as a team are legit. I mean, Aaron Rodgers obviously is a special player. I'm not taking anything away from him. But the things around him, defensively, they've improved. They've improved their run game. I think LaFleur is one of the best play callers in the game. I know everybody takes shots at, should have kicked the field goal. I'm talking about offensive schematic play design. Like the guy knows what he's doing to get guys open. Devontae Adams. Now you're going to bring Cobbie in. Randall Cobb is coming back to him. You have Rodgers, Amari Rodgers from Clemson coming in. This team is going to be another team that they're going to put out on the field that can challenge anybody. And when you think about Aaron Rodgers playing angry again, right? MVP season, all the stuff that's happened in the offseason, they're finally giving way. He's back. He'll want to prove it again. So I like what the Packers are, and I think this is a very tough out for the Bucs. So to me, it's like Bucs are 1A, Green Bay's 1B. I mean, they're very close in my opinion because both offensive lines are good. Both defenses can play when they're healthy. So I like what they can do, and I just think it's going to be who plays the best on that day.
100% agree. I think the Bucs are better than the Packers, but not by much. And I would say this.
Right.
This is why I said the Packers were the biggest winners in the Rodgers situation. Because, Molly, it's one thing to have Rodgers come back, but to do it under circumstances where he'd be committed. How do you pull that off? He'll be committed now because he had a concession, which is, okay, if I want out, I'm out. Right? So they know they need to convince him to stay. But they're also getting, my whole problem was, I don't care what, and all the experienced Super Bowl champions are telling me this, I still don't believe it. If your quarterback's not all in, your quarterback, you ain't winning no Super Bowl. The quarterback's got to be all in to win a Super Bowl. It's the leader of the team. Full contact sport, got to be all in. How are you going to do that with Rodgers? He doesn't want to be there. They figured it out. Rodgers will be all in. Now think about this. LaFleur comes in year one because McCarthy is outdated, it's not working. LaFleur comes year one. They're in the NFC Championship game. But Rodgers was reduced to a game manager because he was just getting his feet wet with the system. Year two, Rodgers wins MVP. Maybe has the best year of his career. Also in the NFC Championship game. Now we're in year three. You think LaFleur's taking the ball out of Rodgers' hands again with the game on the line? And Rodgers is coming in with that chip on his shoulder. Jeff, I agree. Tampa won. Packers right behind them.
Yep. It looks like Jeff's co-signing on that. All right, we'll leave it there, guys. When we come back.
Next year, this time, your rating's going to be what?
You better be a 99.
Let's go!
Let's go. It's day 3 of Madden Ratings Reveal Week, all week long here on ESPN. We'll be unveiling the coveted player ratings in the Madden NFL 22 video game. So every day on SportsCenter, we'll reveal the top 10 players in a different position group. And here's a first look at the top 10 running backs. All right, taking a look right there. And he's here just so he won't get fined. Marshawn Lynch, one of the best to ever play the running back position. They call him Beast Mode
Definitely
for
one of the most
a
inspirational.
reason. And now he's also a Madden ratings adjuster. Marshawn Lynch, how we doing this morning? Thank you for getting up with us.
No problem. It's all good, man.
All right, before we get into all the ratings, all the Madden stuff, I got to ask you this. Any chance I'm going to see a little beast mode action on the gridiron this season?
No, not at all. At all, not at all.
No
Not
with a
at
period
all.
or no with a question mark?
No, with an exclamation mark.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Oh, I mean, like we could talk about that. How do you decide? How do you know it's a no? But let's get on to this stuff we're here for, Marshawn.
It's all
You're a
good.
Cal guy. Aaron Rodgers is a Cal guy. We were debating it earlier in the show. Who won the standoff between him and the Packers?
You said who won the standoff between him and the Packers?
Yeah.
Man, if they don't win a Super Bowl, then they both lost.
If Aaron doesn't win a Super Bowl, then they both lost.
I said if they don't win a Super Bowl, then they both lost.
Right.
Why
That's
would
what
you?
it's about.
You go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I said that's what it's about.
Yeah, I guess the thing I would say there is why would you say that for the Packers, though? Because they should have looked ahead to the future if they don't get a ring with him this year?
No, I'm saying that because the whole point of playing the game is to win a Super Bowl. So if you don't win a Super Bowl, then they both was bullshitting and they should have been on their P's and Q's.
It's a family program.
All right.
It's a family program.
Fair enough. Hey, before we get back to the
And I'm
Madden
a family man.
before we get back to the Madden stuff, I want to ask you this. Do you think Russell Wilson will ever win another Super Bowl with Seattle?
To be honest, I hope so. I hope so. They get that guy Carson going. I think they'll be able to do it. You know, Peter, a defensive mastermind, I believe he'd be able to put something together over there. But, you know, for the most part, I would like to see that. I know the work that he put in, so you feel me? I'd like to see that.
Marshawn, I'm sure every fan of every team has to shout out, oh, this guy's underrated, this guy on Madden, the rating's too low, the rating's too low. I'm a Giants fan. I get why Christian McCaffrey is the number one rated or highly rated. For me, he'd be the second rated guy. Saquon Barkley at 7? The man had 2,000 yards from scrimmage behind no offensive line and a bad quarterback as a rookie. Saquon Barkley at 7? Explain yourself.
Disrespectful. Come on, Marshawn.
Disrespectful. Nah, man. But, you know, Lil Bro had to sit down for a minute. You know, they doing this off that next gen stat. So it's basically, what have you done for me lately? And you feel me? He been off the radar for a minute. So they gotta feel him again.
Where do you have him personally?
You said personal?
Yeah.
I mean, I would probably have him a little higher than 7, but you know what I mean? I do want to see some more from my little Brody.
I want to ask you this. You know, I was looking at your Instagram. I see there's a lot of beast mode things happening in Vegas. Looks fun, exciting. Then I see you out here introducing teams, the Kraken. I want to play that sound real quick.
Marshawn, take it away.
Let's see. So, this the first pick, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, with the first pick, we're going with the boy Cali, though. You know what I'm talking about?
Yup, Cali Yarncrow.
Cali Yarncrow. Cali, if I didn't pronounce it right, tap in with me and let me know how to do it the right way, big dog.
I love it. I love it. You're having a lot of fun out there. When's the broadcast career starting? What's next for Beast Mode?
Man, you know, I be kicked back, man. I'm trying to stay out the way, man.
Except in Vegas, because it looks like that's a good time in Vegas when the NFL games are happening.
But see, though, that's every now and then I got to pop out, so you feel me? That's just one of the times I'm actually going to pop out. But for the most part, you know, just trying to make some moves and, you know, continue the legacy.
Yeah, you got to pick and choose your spots. If you're going to leave the house, you got to make it worth it. I relate to that. I understand that.
So why not Vegas?
I get you. I hear you.
When Molly was introducing you, Marshawn, I said, you know, definitely one of the most inspirational running backs ever because, you know, watch Marshawn Lynch run. That you feel like you could do anything. Look at that. But what I want to know, brick wall. Look at that.
Weight of the world on his shoulders.
It's possible. But before we let you go, I want to know if there's a running back on this Madden top 10 list that we reviewed before that you feel runs the ball like you did?
Yeah, you know what? I like the way Nick Chubb. I like the way he run that thing. Derrick Henry, I like the way that, you know what I mean? They put their body on some.
Henry.
Those were
I
the
didn't
two.
hear. What was the first name? I didn't hear.
Nick Chubb. Those were the two.
Oh,
We were
Nick
talking
Chubb and
about
King Henry.
Goldfarb.
Yep.
We were talking about who's he going to say if I ask him this, and one of us said Nick Chubb and the other said Derrick Henry. Of course.
Yep.
Of course. Yes. This is
But
not
I mean,
rocket
you
science.
know, it's a couple of them on there that I didn't see too. Kareem Hunt, that boy run that thing like a man, and he don't wear no gloves, so you know he gutter with it though. He don't do it with no gloves. He old school Pop Warner, like just give me the ball, let me go ahead and get down. But then I mean, I'm gonna show love to my boy Najee too, even though I know he wasn't on there. But
Pittsburgh's real excited
I'm pretty
about him.
sure
Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. You got both the Browns guys, and they're running
Both
behind the
of
best
them.
O-line.
Yeah.
and they be running. They old school running too. Like, you feel me? You probably could have dropped them off like back in my rookie year, and they would have been solid too.
No, that's high praise.
Good
All right, Marshawn, appreciate you. I know you like to lay low, so we appreciate this little camera time. And
What I want to know is what moves is he making, Molly? What moves? Because I'm not going to run. I'm not going to be back on the field. Well, what else do we ask him? Are you going to
broadcast?
No, not
that's
broadcasting.
Out.
But then on the other side of your mouth, I'm making moves. What moves?
Look, man, what's said don't need to be explained. Look, check this out. Man. I'm gonna keep on trying to make these plays in the background. You know what I'm talking about?
Move in silence.
So maybe
I respect
so maybe
that.
one day when I grow up, I could be just like y'all, except for not on TV.
Okay, fair enough.
Hard to move in silence on television. That's true.
All right, Marshawn, thank you so much. We appreciate the time. Take care now.
Great
All right, tune in to NFL Live and right here on SportsCenter for exclusive Madden ratings and reels. Don't miss First Take as Alex Smith, Ed Reed, and some of your favorite former players join the show each day to debate the ratings. It's Madden Ratings Reveal Week. The recent news that players can profit off of name, image, and likeness. Nick Saban addressed this at SEC Media Day, saying he was unsure of the impact this could have on a team. Saban hinted that someone like his quarterback, Bryce Young, potentially earning so much more than his teammates could cause tension in the locker room. Saban saying this. Our quarterback, Bryce Young, already has approached ungodly numbers. It's almost 7 figures, and it's like the guy hasn't even played yet. But that's because of our brand. Tuesday, Stanford head coach David Shaw had this to say. Nick Saban is smarter than any 10 of us in this room combined. So there was no way that was just a throw-in. Obviously, that's a plant to make sure people knew, and it's a great way to recruit. Max, what do you think? Is this name, image, and likeness problematic for recruiting?
No, it's problematic if you got a bum squad. It's problematic if you got a bad program. I mean, let's be honest about it. It's awesome. But what Nick Saban did, and Shaw's right, the way Nick Saban did it, the front of it, to people who aren't really looking deeply, is like, hey, I like it, old school. Look what's happening now. It could be divisive. I don't know. But really underneath, he's signaling, you can make $1 million at Alabama.
Our brand. You don't even need to play. You don't need to step on the field.
This idea of perfect parity is absurd. Are we just rooting for laundry, or are we rooting for the place that we're from or the place we went to school? The reason Alabama has that advantage is because they care more about college football than other places. The reason LSU, Marcus, would have that advantage is because they care more about college football. They have more money to spend than other teams. The Los Angeles Lakers, people want to play there. It's LA. But there are other markets that are in the middle of the country, in the South. Maybe it's not the NBA or college football, but it really matters to people who live there. They give more of themselves to it, and programs and franchises there will have an advantage recruiting. And Marcus, this is part of that. Doesn't bother me a little bit.
It don't bother me at all, Max. And listen, I would challenge people to look at this. Talk about it's damn problematic for recruiting. Go back and look at the last 15 years at the top 5 schools that's recruiting. Alabama up there before the NIL existed, because the school has been selling itself since Nick Saban has been there. You know what it's been sold off of? Money. But it's been another way. Going to the NFL, getting a great education and the support from the people around these institutions. When you think about Alabama, that's the professional team in Alabama. There is nothing else. There's the University of Alabama football, and they've been doing a tremendous job
Nothing bigger
at doing
Alabama.
Right? And like doing what they're doing. So the bottom line is, when you look at how the NIL is going to impact college football, it absolutely will. But for these schools that's been up here at the top tier, they've already been selling these same ideas. They just couldn't turn it in, monetize it while these guys have been in college. So
I want
look,
Saban to do that at every press conference. Give a little
right,
subliminal recruiting pitch in every
and then when
press
you
conference.
look
I love
at,
it.
and in particular, let me get this in. When you look at the Bryce Young and the endorsements, and you talk about Nick Saban putting that olive branch out there and talking about the cachet of Alabama, why in the hell do you think Texas and Oklahoma want to go to the SEC, man? Why y'all think Texas and Oklahoma want to lead the Big 12 where they the dominant dogs and go to the SEC? Because it's financially great to be a part of the Southeastern Conference. Not only that, you'll be able to recruit in that same pool that those guys are already in. So is the NIL problematic for recruiting? Hell no, because they've been recruiting off this same idea for the last 20 years.
Yeah. All right. Bryce Young, third best odds to win the Heisman, but already worth millions. Marcus, thank you so much for one last go. Aaron balled out last season on his way to the MVP award, but a questionable call in the NFC Championship game brought Rodgers and LaFleur's season to an end. Here's LaFleur on running it back one more time.
You have to have plans for whatever would happen, and I'm just really happy that he's back in the building. He's a part of this football team, because with him, we feel like the sky's the limit. I can say that he is the most competitive person I've ever been around. So there's no doubt about it that he's going to go out there and play to the highest of his ability.
I think Aaron, with the time, what he's done for this organization, I think he deserves at least the conversation every year about where we're headed, where he's headed, and to get together and we'll make decisions. The club will always determine what's best for the Green Bay Packers, but I think he's earned the right to have those discussions.
Jeff Saturday's back. Hi, Jeff. Max, you're up first. Talk to me.
I don't think Gutekunst or Murphy really get it yet. That's not. You need to be more obsequious in the presence of Aaron Rodgers. You need to be more deferential toward him, and just, as I said, the Happy Gilmore. You're right, I'm wrong. You're smart, I'm stupid. You're handsome, I'm ugly. Like that whole thing. Because Aaron Rodgers, as I've been trying to tell everyone, Jeff, is the decider. The only leverage the Packers, as it turned out, actually had, the only leverage was the cap hit would have been so great if they traded Rodgers this year, that Rodgers, being an intelligent person, and a conscious person even, would know, like, oh yeah, no team, like, that's too big a hit to take. What if we do it next year? That's why Adam Schefter was talking about that 3 or 4 weeks ago, right? Because and the way it worked out is great for the Packers, Jeff, because they get Rodgers, and a committed Rodgers, and they have 1 year to change his mind. But my overarching point with all this, Jeff, is it's Rodgers' mind they have to change. He will be the decider. He will make the decision, and that's what will happen. And now the Packers just bought themselves a year to try to change his mind, right, and in the meantime, go out and win a Super Bowl with a motivated quarterback who's bought in. That's a huge win for the Pack.
Absolutely. And I think the olive branch being extended to get this done before training camp is going to mean a lot in the long term, right? Because the true leverage for Aaron Rodgers wasn't until regular season games happen, right? That's when Jordan Love's forced to play. You see what this team's going to look like for now and probably the immediate future with what Jordan Love is. So the true leverage for Aaron wasn't even for a few weeks. I love the fact that the Packers were like, listen, We're going to extend this right now. Let's get this thing going, bring him back into camp. We really haven't missed any time. I mean, there's been nothing really missed. So as he comes back in the organization, and to your point, Max, the most beneficial fact for the Packers is it gives them a year not only to be productive on the field, but be productive in showing Aaron Rodgers we've learned that relationships matter. What are we going to do? We're going to trade for Randall Cobb, one of your boys, right? Bringing him back so Cobb can play with you. We got Amari Rodgers, right? He's going to be on the squad. We're going to try to get Devontae Adams' contract done. So now you know that we're committed here. There's a lot of things the Packers can show to Aaron Rodgers over the next few months leading up until next March that say, hey, man, we want you to stay here. We want you to lead this organization. And if they win a Super Bowl, if they win it, all of a sudden, now you talk about legacy. You've won 2 now here, Aaron. We want you to stay, retire a Packer. This is even greater than what Brett Favre was here for our organization. I mean, how cool would that be for the Packers? So you're right. They're all in on it. They gave the olive branch if you can get out, but they have bought themselves time, which honestly is the most important thing they could have given themselves with this Aaron Rodgers saga.
Well, and just imagine what happens for everyone involved. Like, everyone wins here. I think the Packers are the biggest winners because they were out Aaron Rodgers.
Absolutely.
Oh, they have all the leverage. No, they didn't. The only leverage they had, as I said, was the cap hit they were going to take because Rodgers was aware of it, right? And it made it untenable to trade him. But think about this. They're going to compete for a Super Bowl this year. They went to an NFC Championship game before Rodgers really knew LaFleur. They almost won an NFC Championship game, and that was with LaFleur taking the ball out of Rodgers' hands. Let me take the ball out of the MVP's hands, hand it to the GOAT. Hey, GOAT, go get a first down, and then you win. Like, that's never going to happen again. So they will compete, maybe win a Super Bowl this year. And then after that, Jeff, they have their exit plan. If they haven't convinced Rodgers to stay, not only do they have the heir apparent already in Jordan Love with more experience under his belt, they're going to get like 3 firsts and a second and a third for Rodgers. And Rodgers is going to have competed for another Super Bowl, going to establish his power and called the shot on how his Green Bay career would end. He wasn't being dictated to. And then he's going to play for exactly who he wants to play for. Because if they try to trade him anywhere he doesn't want to be, he'll simply say, well, I'm not going to sign with these guys. And they're not going to give you 3 firsts and something else for him. It's win-win, but I think the biggest one is for Green Bay because they actually had a worse hand to play here.
Really quickly, before we move on, can we just take a moment and see Aaron Rodgers back on the field again? Because he is arguably the greatest quarterback, him and Patrick Mahomes, and we will have him on the field again. This is an exciting moment. We've been talking about it for 89 days. I was going to show you there's some video of him
and Tom Brady, Molly, you're so down on Brady. Why would you not include Brady?
Oh, yeah, Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, too.
I mean, Molly. We got Aaron Rodgers out there ready to go. I mean, come on. We should feel good about this.
I thought you liked Brady. I don't know.
I love Brady, but I thought Rodgers was going to sit. I'm happy we're going to have him.
You said the greatest of Mahomes and Rodgers, and you kind of dissed Brady there. I don't know.
Whatever, Cliff. Let's carry on now. The 49ers traded up in the draft to take Trey Lance with the 3rd overall pick. The team doesn't need Lance to play right away, though, because they still have Jimmy Garoppolo, who took the team all the way to the Super Bowl 2 years ago before falling to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Here's Kyle Shanahan talking about whether the team will have an open quarterback competition.
Yeah, there's no open competition right now in terms of they're getting equal reps with the same group. Jimmy's coming in as the 1, Jimmy and Trey's coming in as the 2. Trey's had 7 practices with us and haven't seen him for 40 days, so not thinking about that right now. Just having Jimmy go in, he's our starter, and you're going to give all those guys every opportunity to improve, and if someone ever looks like they give us a better chance to win, we'll make that decision then.
Jeff, should there be an open quarterback competition?
Heck no. Listen, first of all, I love this Shanahan calls of Jimmy like that. Isn't that what it's Seinfeld? Like, Jimmy, like just I'm just thinking of Shanahan right now and what he has going on in his head. When Jimmy G is healthy, you're 24-8. Like, you win games. You've went to the Super Bowl. You understand that your team is good enough to win right now. Let Jimmy play until Trey Lance has proven on the practice field, I can take this guy's job. Let's not forget, as talented as Trey Lance looks, he's played 17 college games. So he needs some experience. I think he's had less than 10 practices with the 49ers. So you need to allow him to get in, get involved, begin to really understand this offense. Now, once he hits his stride, Trey Lance, the ceiling, it goes, it's a skyrocket, right? From Jimmy G and Trey Lance, I completely understand the differences once you bring in all the different run game options, all that. But you have to allow Trey Lance to develop as a quarterback in the NFL. The coverages, the disguises, all the reads you're going to have. It's different from where he has been playing in North Dakota State. So as I look at this, I think Shanahan's playing this perfectly, and he understands, look, we can win now. And as we bring Trey Lance along, that's why he said, when somebody proves they're ready to play to make us a better team, we'll put them in. He's given himself the out. He's handled this tremendously well from a head coaching perspective.
Yeah, some people would argue, Molly, that, in fact, the team took Jimmy G to the Super Bowl and Jimmy G didn't take them, right?
Yeah.
But I would just say what Jeff brought up is not just that he's 24-8 for the Niners. Well, because he has a genius for a head coach who, knows the offense. It's that if he was so replaceable or easily replaced, and it was really just about the head coach, why is it that the team's record, same exact team, is almost exactly the opposite when he doesn't play? Because he's been injured a lot, we have a fairly large sample size. He's 24-8 when healthy, the team is, and they're almost like 8-24 when not healthy, something very close to that. So clearly he has value, he can play the position. Couple that with the fact that no rookie quarterback ever has been to a Super Bowl. That doesn't mean it'll never happen. That doesn't mean it'll never happen. If Trey Lance is just, oh my God, he's ready, fine. It indicates the odds are against it because it's really hard to get NFL ready on that level in 1 year. They have a perfect situation. They have a competitive team. It's been to the Super Bowl recently. They have a quarterback who's one throw away. But he missed that throw. But next time he might hit it.
That's right.
Like Jimmy G, maybe it's a 50-50 proposition on that throw. But he can help get you there and maybe hit it next time. Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, you have a more talented player ready to take the reins when either Jimmy G gets hurt, which he often does, or Trey Lance gets more experienced. It's really a great situation for San Francisco.
Yeah, listen, let me say this. I've heard everybody talk about the Chicago Bears trying to compare them to the Kansas City Chiefs when it was Alex Smith to Patrick Mahomes. I would say that San Francisco's situation is more like that, right? Like you knew what Alex Smith was when he was in Kansas City. And I'm taking out the injuries and all that to Jimmy G. Exactly, but I'm saying you know that Alex Smith was good enough to take you to the playoffs and be successful until Patrick Mahomes clearly showed. I liken those two situations to each other. When you think about the situation, the 49ers, their team is built to win right now. They're in a really tough division. The defenses can get after you. They can rush the passer. They can give you disguises and different looks. But also, as Trey Lance progresses, if it becomes down to the end of this season, they're like, hey, Lance is our guy. I think Shanahan understands they can win with him as well. So I like the situation for where San Francisco is. I think they are very similar, in my opinion, to what the Kansas City Chiefs were hoping with the transition from Alex Smith to Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying Trey Lance is Patrick Mahomes, so don't blow me up on Twitter. I'm saying the situation, everybody.
Can we put an end to that, by the way? Every time someone in the sports media says, hey, this guy does something like this great player, oh, you're saying they're not? No, it's their analogous situations
There's a similarity,
in certain respects.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, let's talk about another quarterback that was drafted pretty highly in April, guys. Justin Fields selected 10th by the Bears and Chicago fans. Excited to see him play, but they're going to have to wait, though. Head coach Matt Nagy insists that Andy Dalton will be the starter. Dalton gave his thoughts on this situation. Take a listen.
It comes with that position. He's a first-round pick. I understand that, but I also understand that I'm the starter, and I understand that I knew I signed a one-year deal. I knew that I was going to come in. I was going to be the starter, regardless of the situation coming in, and so that's my focus. I'm not worried about all the stuff that's going to be going on with Justin because that doesn't affect me. At the end of the day, it's what I'm going to be doing and everything. And Justin and I have a really good relationship, and I'm trying to help him out as much as I can.
Max?
Yeah.
Should there be a quarterback competition in Chicago?
Not yet. And the reason I say that is this. This is not like the Niners situation. The Bears have to get this right. The Bears are not ready to win a Super Bowl with Andy Dalton maybe, as maybe San Francisco is with Jimmy G. The Bears have never really had a good quarterback. Not really, ever had a good quarterback. Justin Fields may be the guy. You have to make sure, Jeff, when you hand him that ball, you're not taking it back for 15 years. So whenever they feel like Justin Fields is ready to take the ball and keep it, that's when you give it to him. If that's week 1, week 10, year 2, whatever. When that moment comes, you give him the ball.
I agree with you, but I think it's going to be sooner rather than later. When I think about Justin Fields, I think he's the second best quarterback in this draft. Played at Ohio State. This guy had like 80-something touchdowns and less than 10 turnovers. This dude has played big-time college football and continued to show you he's a winner. He finds ways to win. Everybody tried to tear him down there in the draft. He's not this, he's not that. You know what he does do? He wins. So when I look at him with the Chicago Bears, I think he has an opportunity. I do think you have to wait for Andy Dalton to start the season, but I think that move happens quickly as Justin understands this offense.
All right. All I know is we're getting closer to real football, and that makes me happy. So that's my big gem of the day. Goodbye, everyone.